Who are the surprise Big 12 teams after week 3 of the college football season? And where do I have these teams in my power rankings after week 3? Well, in this video, which is brought to you in part by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino and Katz, Cantor, Stone Street, and Buckner, attorneys at law, we will talk about that, and I'll show you my power rankings right after this word from one of those sponsors. Since 1931, the attorneys at Katz, Cantor, Stone Street, and Buckner have been the voice for victims who have suffered serious injury or death. They have a fierce passion for truth and justice and a sincere compassion for those who have been wronged by others. Whether you have been in a car accident or fighting with an insurance company, or you or a loved one has suffered serious injury or death due to medical negligence, we will ensure your voice is heard loud and clear. Katz, Cantor, Stone Street, and Buckner will ensure there is justice for all West Virginians because we are your lawyer, your voice. Visit us at yourlawyeryourvoice.com. What is up? You have found yourself at Couz's Corner. Come on in, make yourself comfortable, belly yourself up to the bar, and let me pour you out this shot of top shelf college football content on tap today at Couz's Corner. We are talking about the Big 12 Conference, my tier rankings after week 3. I base this on the results from week 3 and the previous weeks, and just where I think these teams are at this point in the season. Now, first, I'm going to show you the rankings I had after last week's games. As you'll see, I had Utah as the only top shelf team in the league. I had Houston and Texas Tech as the two well teams, and then everything in between. There are going to be quite a few changes in this week's rankings. So let's go ahead and get started. Utah, 3-0, coming off a win over their in-state rival Utah State. They did fall behind in that game early, but they were able to come back and get the win with backup quarterback Isaac Wilson, who was in for injured Cam Rising. So right now, I still have Utah. Their defense is still really good. Rising should be back any week now. That's a really good football team. I still have them picked as the best team in this conference, so I'm leaving them where they are. On the contenders tier, going to be some movement here. The Iowa State Cyclones did not play in week 3, so I'm leaving them where they are. They're not moving at all. They're staying as a contender. They're week 2, they're coming off that win over their arch rival Iowa on a last-second field goal, so I'm leaving them. TCU, had them as a contender. But the problem is they lost their very first conference game, so that's going to make it harder for them to finish where I thought they would finish. They were up 28-7 on UCF, allowed UCF to come back and win that game in Fort Worth. Mind you, I still don't think TCU's a bad team, but I think it's going to be harder for them to contend for a Big 12 title now that they've already dropped one game. So I'm going to drop them down one spot to end the conversation. Oklahoma State Cowboys, they are coming off a win, a pretty dominant win, 45-10 over Tulsa. Ollie Gordon was held in check, but lo and behold, Alan Bowman comes out, throws for almost 400 yards, 5 touchdowns, and only 1 pick. This passing game from Oklahoma State is apparently legit. So even if you stop Ollie Gordon, they're going to hurt you with the pass game, something nobody expected Alan Bowman to be able to do. Looks like he might be proving a lot of doubters wrong, at least so far at this point in the season. Their defense has been a little suspect at this point. That's why I'm not sure they're going to be able to beat Utah this weekend. But that being said, I still have them as a top shelf team in the conference because they're 3-0. Their offense looks good. Let's see where they go the rest of the year. The Kansas State Wildcats also coming off a nice win, a 34-7 win over the Arizona Wildcats. It was a non-conference game because it was already on the schedule. Avery Johnson rushed for over 100 yards again. He's continuing to get better and better at throwing the football. That Kansas State defense looks really good, especially at stopping the run. And they're going to be a tough out in this conference. And because of that, they're 3-0, coming off a nice win over an in-conference Power 4 team in dominating fashion. I'm moving them up to a top shelf team. Kansas, boy, oh boy. Kansas lost to Illinois last week. But even with that, or week before, or week 2, they lost to Illinois. But even with that, I left them as a contender because I thought, hey, it's an anomaly. Illinois is a Big Ten team. It was a close game. Jalen Daniels threw 3 picks. I think it's an anomaly. But lo and behold, Jalen Daniels come out week 3, throws 2 picks. They lose to UNLV this time. Devin Neal still doing his thing, still getting 100 yards a game. But, man, Jalen Daniels is absolutely struggling. I'm sure he may have some rust he needs to work off from being out most of last year. But whatever, I do think they miss Andy Kotelnicki at offensive coordinator. A lot of changes in Kansas, and they're just not the same team. And for that reason, I'm actually going to drop, because they're 1-2 and they lost to a group of 5 team. I have to move them down to a well team. I'm sorry, Kansas fans, but as of right now, that's where you are. West Virginia, my favorite team, the Mountaineers, coming off a huge heartbreaking loss, one I'm still trying to get over, 38-34 to their arch rival Pitt. After being up 10 points with 4 minutes to go in that game, they still lose it. Heartbreaking fashion. Their pass defense continues to be a sieve. They gave up 300 yards passing 2 weeks in a row, and they're 1-2 on the year. Yes, their 2 losses are to Power 5 teams, but they haven't looked good in a lot of ways. So I'm moving them down to a pretender. Actually, you know what? I have to move them down even further to a bottom shelf team right now. It would only be fair. I don't want to be a homer here, so I'm moving West Virginia down to bottom shelf until they prove me wrong. Hey, I'll move you up if you do better next week potentially. All right. Arizona Wildcats. They're 2-1 on the year, but they're coming off a pretty tough loss, blowout loss to Kansas State. To me, that deserves them to be dropped down a notch. They're struggling to run the football. I'm not real high on Arizona right now. They do not look that impressive to me, so I'm moving them down to a pretender. The UCF Knights, big come from behind win in Fort Worth over the TCU Horned Frogs. KJ Jefferson, he doesn't look elite as a quarterback, but he does what he needs to do. He's a veteran. He doesn't get rattled in big moments. He makes plays when he needs to make plays, whether it's through the air with his feet, but he doesn't have to do a lot because they have a guy named RJ Harvey who has rushed for 448 yards in only 3 games. He's on pace to reach 1,000 yards in week 7 or 8 of the season, depending on whether bye week falls. So as long as you've got that guy in the backfield and you have a quarterback who's a veteran like KJ Jefferson, as long as that UCF defense can hold up and play decent football in the Big 12, they are a contender for the conference. So I'm moving them up a notch from in the conversation to a contender. All right, let's go down to the Arizona State Sun Devils. A nice 31-28 win over a really good G5 team in Texas State. And even though Cam Scatterboo was held in check to only 68 yards rushing, Arizona State found a way to win that game. They forced 3 turnovers. They held a very powerful offense to less than 30 points. 28 is still a lot of points, but, Texas State is potent on offense. So, and they won the game. So I'm moving Arizona State up to end the conversation right now because they're 3-0. And, hey, they're a surprise. They're one of the surprise teams. I only picked them to win 3 games the entire season. They've already matched that. All right, BYU. BYU fans, I'm eating crow on this one too. I picked BYU to win 2 games the entire season. They're already 3-0. Their defense is absolutely legit, holding teams to 14 points a game. Jake Retzlaff, the quarterback, looks like he might be coming around. Looks like he might be coming around here. Had a really good day in their win over Wyoming, where they won 34-14. Like I said, the D's playing at a really high level. Retzlaff was completed 22 of 36 for 291 yards, 3 tutties, and only 1 interception. So if he continues to play well and that defense continues to show up, they're going to be a tough out. Now, they're struggling to run the football a little bit because of some injuries in the backfield. But, hey, defense travels. Defense can keep you in games. And as long as that defense continues to play the way they are, they're going to be a really tough out in this conference. So I've got to move them up to in the conversation right now. I don't know. Let me know. Is that wrong? Is that right? Let me know in the comments. The biggest game of the weekend in the Big 12 right now is going to be the game between Oklahoma State and Utah in Stillwater. Right now, our friends over at BetUS Sportsbook and Casino have a really tight spread on this game. As you can see, it is 2.5. Utah is favored by 2.5 on the road in Stillwater. The over-under on the game, 51.5. If you want to place a bet on this right now, which is what I'm going to do, I like Utah to cover the spread because I think they'll be able to put up a lot of points on this Oklahoma State defense, which has had some struggles. I'm putting $10 on this game. I'm placing my bet, confirming my bet, and we're in. So if you want to do that and you want to save money while doing it, if you are looking for a new sports book too, go to BetUS right now. Place your bet, and you get up to 150% bonus on your first deposit if you use promo code YouTube150. YouTube150 at checkout. You get 150% bonus on your first deposit up to $2,000. Take advantage of that offer today if you want to place a bet on that game or any other game for that matter. Cincinnati. You won the game, but it was over a group of 5 team in Miami of Ohio. It was a close game, 27-16. Corey Kiner did have another 100-plus yard day, so he's doing his thing. Defense held Miami of Ohio to 16 points. You had that tough come from behind win or loss the previous week to Pitt, where you let them come back down from like 28-7 or something like that, and Pitt came back and won the game. I guess it wouldn't be fair to leave Cincy where they are after a win, would it? So I guess I better move them up to pretender, from bottom shelf to pretender, at least for now. All right. The Baylor Bears, they are also coming off a nice 31-3 win over Air Force. They're 2-1 on the year. Bryson Washington, running back, ran for over 100 yards. They may have found themselves a quarterback. Sawyer Robertson comes in for the injured DeQuan Finn, throws for 248 yards. And the defense held Air Force, who's that potent running attack, to only 3.7 yards per carry, held them to 3 points. Dave Arena has that defense cooking. Looks like the offense may be getting better and better each week under new OC Jake Spavital. So, Baylor, you are now moved up from bottom shelf to pretender because you are 2-1 on the year. And you're looking better. You're on the way up. Colorado, I have you at bottom shelf last week after your loss to Nebraska. You win this week against your arch nemesis, your in-state rival Colorado State, 28-9. Shedeur Sanders puts up gaudy numbers once again. Throwing for, he was 36-49 for 310 yards, 4 touchdowns. Travis Hunter had another big day receiving. But I want to see Colorado. They cannot run the football right now. They're having to throw on when they should be running it, or maybe that's just bad coaching decisions. I don't know, but nonetheless, I want to see more out of the running game. Hopefully, see how their defense can hold up in Big 12 play. I guess out of fairness, I need to move them up because they did win. I guess I need to move them up to a pretender, even though I'm not real confident doing that. Now we've got the Houston Cougars. Houston, you have a problem, but not as big of a problem because you are now 1-2 instead of 0-2. Houston coming off a big 33-17 win over in-state rival Rice. They only gave up 159 yards of offense in that game. Now, Houston is probably not going to have a great year. I still don't think they will, but their defense, Willie Fritz's formula, it seems to be, let's focus on the defense right now. That'll keep us in games, and then we'll work on the offense as we go. They held the week prior, they held Oklahoma to 16 points. They come out and hold Rice to 17 points, 159 yards of total offense. Defense will keep them in games. I still don't think they're going to win much because I'm not sure they can score enough points. But I am going to move them up from a well team to a bottom shelf team this week, the Houston Cougars. Finally, the Texas Tech Red Raiders. I had them in the well because they lost to Washington State in ugly fashion the week prior. They barely held on to beat an FCS team in Abilene Christian and allowed them to put up 51 points. But lo and behold, as soon as I start doubting them, I even picked them to not cover the 10-point spread against North Texas. They come out and put up 66 points on North Texas. 66. They win the game 66-21. They put up 586 yards of offense, 273 yards through the air from Baron Morton. Taj Brooks had a good day on the ground with 109 yards. Their D, who had been giving up 40 points a game coming in, only allowed 21 to North Texas, who was 2-0 coming into that game. And they forced 3 turnovers, so they found a way to play better defense, and they put up a lot of points. If they can continue to do that, if any team that's going to put up that kind of points, it's going to be hard to beat. So I've got to move Texas Tech up from well. They are 2-1 on the year. They can put up a lot of points. So I'm actually going to move them up 2 spots to the pretender category. So right now, in summary, my top shelf teams in this league, Utah, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, they're all 3-0. All had nice wins over the weekend. Contenders, Iowa State, they were coming off a bye, so I didn't move them. UCF, nice come from behind win over TCU, so I moved them up to a contender. TCU moved them down 1 notch from contender to end the conversation after that loss to UCF. Arizona State moved up another notch to end the conversation after a win over Texas State. BYU now sitting at 3-0. I moved them up a notch or 2 to end the conversation. Defense looking great. Arizona, not looking as great. They lose a game in blowout fashion to Kansas State, move them down to a pretender. Also have Cincinnati as a pretender. Baylor moved up. Cincinnati moved up, by the way, from bottom shelf to a pretender. Same with Baylor, same with Colorado because they all won. Texas Tech actually moved them up 2 notches from well to pretender because they put up 66 friggin' points in that game against North Texas. West Virginia drops all the way from in the conversation to bottom shelf because they just lost in ugly fashion to Pitt. Their pass defense is atrocious right now. And then Houston moved up a notch from well to bottom shelf because of their win over Rice. And then Kansas, I dropped them all the way from contenders all the way down to well because Jalen Daniels doesn't look good. They're struggling to score on offense. They're 1-2. They just lost to a group of 5 team. So right now, they're sitting at 1-2. Their only wins over Lindenwood. They're in the well right now. So that's where I have it. You let me know in the comments, where did I get it right? Where did I get it wrong? I want to hear your thoughts. I want to give a shout out to my channel members of this episode, my VIP paid channel members. If you want to join this list, hit the join button below or go to my channel homepage and hit join over there beside my profile photo. You get perks like shout outs during videos. You get first dibs on comments during live streams, and you will get early access to some content if you are a club level member. But the members of this video are Harry Alston, FSU 45, Okie King, David Cummings, Outlaw Sports with Jesse, and Luke Bart. Thank you all for your support of the channel here. And again, if you want to join, hit the join button. Also want to give another shout out to my sponsors, BetUS Sportsbook and Casino, and Cats Counter Stone Street and Buckner. Thank them for helping me keep the lights on. There's another video you can watch right here in the corner of your screen. Have a top shelf day, and cue Country Roads.